I'm gonna hit record, and now I'm gonna need a couple seconds of silence.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Welcome to the weekly episode of the Freelancer Codex podcast. Your host, Steven, and co-hosts Mike, Devon, and JD are all set. Join us and tweet your questions at Freelancer Codex. Find us on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com. Strap into your javelins, and let's drop in.
Welcome, freelancers, to episode 76 of the Freelancer Codex podcast, the longest running Anthem podcast on the internet. In all of Bastion, all those radio shows, the Crimson Lancer, and the other one with the Grabbit that solves crime. We are the longest running of all of those. I'm your host, Steve, along with my three co-hosts, Michael, Devon, and JD. And guys, it has been, let me tell you this. Let me tell you how many days it's been since my 1080 Ti has been dead. And
1080 Ti.
My 2080 Ti has been dead and sent off for RMA, and they haven't even touched it. It's only been 20 days. That's frustrating. Just so happens to be that's also the same amount of time that Anthem has been released to people that had Origin Access Premier. 13 days to everyone else that's been able to play the game. So after 13 days, I ran a poll on Twitter asking people, how much time have you played in the game? Has it been 0 to 10 hours, 11 to 30 hours, 30 to 60 hours? And out of about 500 people that took the poll, there were about 48% of the people had played over 60 hours of the game. That's quite a bit of time in that time frame, I think.
It is a couple of hours. Lots of hours.
It's a lot of hours. A couple of people that responded like, after 20 hours, the game is boring and it's a bad game. It's like, well, you spent 20 hours in the game. I mean, I think if it was boring, or even, maybe you got bored after 20 hours, but that's a pretty good chunk of change, time invested in something that you're not having fun with. I don't know. I could be wrong. Mike, am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. That is a lot of hours to be playing and then finally say, oh, I'm bored with this. This game is terrible. Well, yeah, you've done everything. Probably more than once.
Did they do everything? Like, I didn't finish the story in 20 hours.
What'd you do? Fall asleep?
No.
So you could have. You could go straight through the entire crit path in 20 hours.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could. On easy, whatever. So, Devon, how many hours have you put in? I'm curious.
So the last time I checked.
Just check right now. Open it up. It tells you right there on the homepage.
It's not correct though, because after the second day, it was already 20 hours behind.
What? Why would it be 20 hours behind?
No, so the second day it said I'd only played 10 hours, but I had played from 8:30 in the morning till 2 a.m. that night, and it said I'd only played 10 hours. And then at the end of the second day, which I had played pretty much from 8 in the morning till, again, after midnight, it said I'd only played 20 hours. So I'm like, this is not
People
correct.
Don't burn through this. People don't sit here and burn through all this stuff. I played from 8 to 2 in the morning, but we didn't burn through it.
I didn't burn through it. It took me over 40 hours to get through it.
So what does your timestamp say now? Give us a ballpark.
The timestamp says about 1:30, I believe, on PC. But
it can't. It's got to be more than that.
Well, exactly. I was like, just based on my, adding it up, it's got to be around 160 or so, 160 hours. So.
Well, the reason I say that it can't be that is because my timestamp says 140 hours.
Yeah. So, but like I said, it's been off, and that's just on PC. I've also played about
but we don't talk about those dark days. We don't talk about that time when you were held hostage and
my friends on Xbox are like, come on, come play over here,
and we're forced to play on Xbox.
Like, I hate you, Sony.
Well, I'm glad that you guys, I feel like we have two authorities that can speak on the game with, pretty significant experience. I haven't played that much. JD, I don't know how much time you've spent in the game. Can you tell us? Do you know if you're on Xbox? Does it tell you at all?
I'm sure it does. I don't know.
And compare with your friends, and it'll tell you time.
I have definitely played at least at least 40 hours at this point, maybe even 60. I'm not anywhere close to 100 yet, but I've definitely put the time in. Haven't played it as much this last week because I've been setting up, this. But yeah.
For our audio listeners, what is this?
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
We are a podcast.
My roommates, aka my sister and brother-in-law, they moved out, so now I have the entire house to myself, and I've been just doing a lot of setting things up so that it's functional. And I now have an entirely new room that none of you audio listeners can see, that is just waiting to be filled with posters and gaming and podcast stuff. So yeah,
very cool. I'm excited for you, Mike. You have our introduction, and I am interested in this lightning round that you put together for us.
Introductory lightning round. So you just got to give your answer. We'll talk about it if we need to. If not, we'll move on. And the order will be...
Whoa, what happened? Someone okay?
Who just died?
I just died a little bit inside. So
Did you just punch your microphone? What did you do?
What did you do?
my cup fell over on my desk. Don't worry, everything's fine. Just spilled a little water on my desk.
All right. No one's gonna worry about Devon spilling his water.
Oh, I will. We've already had someone in our group lose their graphics card, so that's not good.
It's a sad day. I'm still kind of upset about it. But
first
whatever.
is the graphics card.
I understand.
Stay far away from my computer.
Okay, lightning round. So this is how it's gonna go. Devon, you will answer first, and then JD, and then Steven.
I better write this down so I don't mess it up.
Beats. Battlestar Galactica. Identity theft is not a joke, Devon.
It's true.
Okay, here we go. Lightning round. Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Coke.
Curved brim or flat brim?
I don't wear hats.
No hats for me.
They don't make hats big enough for Devon's head.
It's true.
I don't think you're understanding this game. You have to pick one or the other. Curved brim or flat brim?
Curved.
Cool Ranch or nacho cheese? These are Doritos.
Nacho cheese.
Cool Ranch.
You messed up the order.
Rusty says Pepsi and curved, and I'm nacho cheese, right? No, I said
nacho
Cool
cheese.
Ranch. They're both curved.
Let's do that one again because JD jumped in. He messed up I'm writing this down. It's for or I'm gonna tie it in at the end.
Oh, okay.
Cool Ranch or nacho cheese Doritos?
Cool Ranch.
Nacho cheese.
Rusty has never eaten either of those.
That's weird.
Seriously?
How is that even possible?
Japan has way crazier flavors than that.
You know what? There's a teacher at work who we introduced her to Doritos this year. Actually, she had never had them. Yeah, we changed her life. Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Nike.
Adidas.
Marvel or DC?
DC.
What? What?
Just to throw a curveball.
Back the truck up.
No, it's called the lightning round for a reason.
Vegan hot blaze. What is that? Duchess.
Marvel.
Chevy or Ford?
What year?
Oh my gosh.
Current.
This is the slowest.
I guess Ford.
If it's current, then Ford.
Toilet
paper, over or under? It's not yes or no. It's over or under.
Over.
Eggs, ketchup or salsa?
Why either?
What?
We kind of had some traction going, and then bam, we got stopped.
I'm sorry, but I've never put either of those things on my eggs.
That's weird. Ketchup.
You should live a little more.
You should.
Agreed.
I put salt and pepper on my eggs.
What?
Okay, you're an old man.
Disneyland or Disney World?
Ooh. Disney World.
Disney World.
Disneyland.
Front of the theater or back of the theater?
Are we talking our theaters here
Gosh, please don't get Just answer the question.
Back of the theater. Obviously not the front because it's like 10 feet away from the
Just
screen.
carry on.
My wayward son.
Front of the theater.
Back of the theater.
Would you rather be too hot or too cold?
Too cold.
Also too cold.
Too hot.
And that's it.
Wrapped it all up there, did you?
I did. That was good. That was a great little segue.
Oh, I thought you were wrapping it up like at the end of this.
At the end of the show. Come on, guys.
Oh, at the end of the show. Okay, fair enough.
I'm a literary assassin. I will work all of these answers in. JD, are you cutting out, or do you want to say something? Just start talking.
I am just waiting for you to tally up all the responses so you can find out which of the four of us are actually romantically compatible with each other.
That's not even
so
where
this is
going. JD, you have to stop saying crap like that.
The Freelancer Codex podcast.
I'm not even like
out of
kidding.
nowhere.
Like, you've got to stop that. It's not funny.
I want to know.
Oh,
Duchess Luca said vegan hot blaze. Is that a chip, Duchess?
Is it a Dorito flavor?
I don't know.
Must be a Dorito flavor. I think Dorito has tons of flavors.
I've had some pretty good vegan chips.
So, guys, this is episode 76 of the Freelancer Codex podcast. When Duchess responds, we can talk about that. So if you want to reach us, you can leave us a voicemail. You can do that at 505-386-7917, or you can leave us a message, email at freelancercodex@gmail.com. Or, you know what else you could do? You could roll over to iTunes and you give us a couple 5-star, reviews. You can give us a couple. You can make as many accounts as you want. And you can give us as many 5-star reviews as you want. No one's going to stop you. No one's going to do that. So there's a couple of them that we got. We had a follow-up from old D-Mitty number 1. D-Mitty number 1 says, update from 2/25. That's February 25th. The fact that they sort of explain the decal pronunciation has unlocked my honest review. Great chemistry between the hosts. Always a fun conversation and good information. This is the 5-star Anthem podcast you're all looking for. All the rest are turds. This is what he wrote, okay? This is D-Mitty's opinion, so don't shoot the messenger. Well, the podcast isn't spectacular, and then it rolls into his other one. So yeah, it's not.
I do want to say right off the top of that one, if you watch the live stream, and Ben said decal, I was yelling at my screen, and with excitement, and be like, I can't say the words I was saying, but I was like, vindicated.
We are vindicated. I'm selfish. I'm wrong. Spider-Man. Ask your dads about it, or your parents. So, and then we have another one from Paradox Ahoy. Thanks for making my workday a bit more interesting and helping me keep up on Anthem news. Loving the game so far and interested to see how you guys feel about the upcoming content when it releases. Please keep covering the game. Oh, we will, Paradox Ahoy. We will keep covering the game because I think after the amount of time that we've all put in the game, if we didn't enjoy it, we would have stopped playing it. There's plenty of good games to play. If we weren't enjoying this, I think we would just move on and stop doing the show, right? There's no point in...
Do you think he says his name Paradox Ahoy?
No. I don't think so.
Well, I don't think he says it Paradox Ahoy.
Like
I think
Ahoy
it's like
cookies?
Chips Ahoy.
Paradox Ahoy!
Yeah, it's definitely like Chips Ahoy.
Yeah,
That's
obviously.
exactly how JD said it.
Well, Chips Ahoy has exclamation points. Ooh, Chips Ahoy, regular or chewy?
Regular
Regular.
with milk. Wow, you are the slowest at answering lightning questions, Devon. You are the
Well,
worst.
you guys skipped over me, so I was
Look,
like,
all I know
right.
is that answer came at the speed and cadence of Eeyore.
This is like the John Warner interview all over again. If you guys don't get in there, I'm just gonna roll over you guys. Okay, hypothetical question. I need to know because Anthem is released. It was 20 days ago.
I am going to
13
stop you
days
for a second though,
officially.
because I have something that I need to say and get off my chest. Not really get off my chest.
Should we do this now or?
Yeah, we'll do it now because it's up there
Okay.
where it says to do it now. Following the show notes, Mr. Follow the show notes.
Hey, this is why I have you in charge of the show notes, Mike. Go for it.
This is why I'm here. So I am a very huge college basketball fan. I love it. March is the best time of year because of the NCAA championship tournament. We have created a Freelancer Codex group. If you would like to join, find that group using the official March Madness app. You can find that through your local app store, depending on what device you're on. Search the Freelancer Codex group, and the password is Fort Tarsus. Get on in there, capital F, capital T. Get in there. Brackets are gonna open in I think 9 days. We'll lock in our brackets. I believe Steven has a prize going out to the highest point winner. And it's something fun. You don't have to pay to get in. It's not like one of those sites, but it's just something fun to do. So if you want to get in on that, feel free. And go Dukes.
I don't know what the prize is going to be yet, but we're going to figure something out because I think the tournament ends in April, right, Mike? It goes all the way to April.
Yeah. So the championship game will be into the first week of April.
So we'll have something fun to give out for the winner of that, because that kind of stuff is fun. We love giving away stuff on the Freelancer Codex because I think the competition is fun. It's all it's just all in good fun. So real quick. 20 days ago, Anthem released in early access. I guess that's what we're going to call it to everyone that has Origin Access Premier. It has released 13 days for PlayStation 4 owners and Xbox owners. I wanted to posit the question to you all. Do you think it would have been better if Anthem dropped like Apex with very little information, almost no information, and they showed up one day, BioWare said, "Hey, we have a game out. Here it is. You can play it now." Do you think that would have been better than the, year and a half development communication that we got? We didn't get a full year of communication. It really started from EA Play from 2017. So that's kind of where that they started giving us information. Do you think it would have been better if they just
that came out in a super slow trickle. When we first saw when we saw that trailer in 2017 that started this whole thing. Yeah, we had one. Remember, I love these guys made a web show about 6 minutes of video, and we have 812 episodes later after 6 minutes of video. So it was a drop in the bucket. I think that with the development of the game and them getting out as early as they really could, letting us know what was coming, what they wanted to do, I think it helped. Anyway.
You can do it. I believe
in you. I can do it. I think it helped knowing that kind of we're on this, they kind of pulled us aboard and we're on this journey together, hopefully to understand that there are going to be problems in this game because of the plan that they have for it. They want this to last. This isn't going to be a one and done. Not that Apex, because you brought it up, I'll use that. Not that Apex is a one and done, but it seems to me that game is very basic. It has a very basic concept. You're going to jump in, you fight each other, battle royale type. Here are the guns, here are the characters. This is your build. This is what you have. This is the preset what you have. With Anthem, however, they told us that we're going to have the ability to make builds, and I think that comes with its own set of problems inherently, because numbers are going to mess each other up, and the way that you set those up, what has priority, how does it work, it's going to create problems, and we need to understand that these are the ups and downs with a live service game like Anthem. And I'm glad that they brought us aboard super early to allow us to celebrate their wins with them. And then also to kind of drudge through the mud with them at times. Yes, the white rifle is the most powerful right now, but that's going to get fixed. Like, we know that's going to change. Well, according to
the same legendary weapons I have.
Well, yeah. Of course, we're not at Devon's level. He's played 130 hours.
Obviously, not using an Avenging Herald legendary
the proper way, right?
One shot.
Well, yeah, because you play on easy, but
Grandmaster won. Right?
So I think it's a good thing
on easy.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing that they brought us on early. The thing leading up from here is now, and again, this is that theme that has been with us since episode 1, is balance. How much information is too much? I know Ben tries really hard only to give us the stuff that he can confirm, which I think is a very smart idea. But you know what? Sometimes you don't have to give us everything. Give us the stuff that we're asking about, because that's the stuff that we care about. And those little behind the scenes changes that you make, we don't need to know about in great detail. But keep us on board with like the big things. And I think they're really trying hard to do that. Their streams have been getting better. I mean, they're 3 streams into it. Our 3rd episode in, I don't think we had audio from Steven for like, 6 weeks or something. And so it comes with problems, but I think they're doing a really good job. I appreciate them being on and trying to be transparent that way. So I think it's good for now, but now they're setting it up to where they're going to have to start delivering on everything that they tell us that they're going to do. And so they're cutting their work out for them. And they're setting themselves up, and I hope that they succeed, because I want Anthem to succeed, because after 140 hours, I'm kind of vested, and so I enjoy where we are now. So I don't think that transparency has hurt the game.
All right, so Dark Light Dreamer from chat says, I think that we have the kind of game. I think that with the kind of game that this is, we need to have some kind of idea of what the game is, because it's not easily defined like Apex as a battle royale. So I don't think that dropping it suddenly would have worked for the game. I do think that the messaging should have been way different, though. So, and I think that is very true, that Apex is, I mean, it's comparing apples to oranges, but I mean, they're both EA games. You see the success of Apex. And I think Apex, people were wanting something new for that genre to evolve a little bit. And Apex dropped with all the right things to do that. To do it differently from PUBG and do it differently from Fortnite. I don't think Apex is like the killer of those games. I think they all 3 can coexist with having their own fan base. So I know it's a little bit different, comparing the 2, but it's just kind of interesting. Devon, what do you think? Do you think like the transparencies hurt them at all?
No, well, I mean, it can have hurt them in some people's eyes. They showed things or said things, and maybe some of that didn't all happen. But honestly, to kind of go off of what Mike was saying, I felt kind of the same way. It's really, I mean, if they just dropped this, like, I mean, Anthem is a game that, benefits from a community that surrounds it, right? So all the content creators, people like us, people, like Lupo and Your Anthem and Bags, all these guys who have been around for a while, that have been making content for the game, that are really invested in it. Yeah, there's going to be big name content creators or influencers, but they're here for right now while it's big, and they're just going to keep moving on. But there's a community that's built around it, like our Discord community and the people on Twitter and everything else that are part of our community that wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here if they had just dropped the game, right? Like in our current situation. And so part of that journey for me was being able to enjoy that with the community that we've been slowly expanding and building, and being able to see the highs and lows for all of us, of, okay, we want more information, or this is what we're looking for. This is, this is not what we thought, or different things. And it's been a lot of fun, in a different journey all of its own, sharing that with a lot of different people from around the world that we would have never known. So
I think I'm tearing up, Devon.
I know.
Get back in there, dear.
Right here in the
JD,
change your filter in your furnace. I think it's probably allergies.
Okay, I can do that. JD, you have closing remarks.
Honestly, I think they revealed it too early. I think revealing it at E3 2017, the way they did, and them going radio silent almost immediately after, was probably the worst thing that they could have done. I would have rather they stayed silent until EA Play 2018, because I like looking back on it, that year where there was basically nothing. Like, it had this big reveal, and obviously you had the knee-jerk reaction of the community. The people are like, BioWare's making this, like, Destiny thing or whatever. And, like, we all remember what it was like. I don't need to rehash that. But the whole thing is that there was the year with nothing. And, like, we heard so little about Anthem during that time between E3 2017 and EA Play 2018. that I feel that the negativity, the toxicity, the idea that this was a bad game really had time to really just wiggle its way into the online community and just really get its roots in. Especially considering that this was just like a month or two after we had found out that Andromeda had failed, and then we also had the announcement that the DLCs were canceled for that there were no plans to further develop that. It was a bad news for BioWare leading into it, and then they had this thing that people weren't exactly big on, and then they went silent for basically a year with, the devs and the Reddit keeping things alive. But I honestly think they revealed it too soon. I think if it had been the way how they did it and like the lead up into it, we had less of an idea and maybe like a sneak peek of what it was, not necessarily a full reveal of what it was supposed to be in 2017. Kind of the way how they talked about it the previous year in 2016 at their the BioWare thing at the EA conference or whatever. I think it would have been better, but I definitely think they revealed it too soon. There are always going to be expectations.
Yeah, I do think that, having to reveal it at E3 is really hard to pass up for any developer, especially when you're on that main stage, like with Xbox, or if you're given, or if it's with Sony, it'd be hard to pass that up to get your game in front of that many eyes. I think things are going to be changing a little bit. I know Nintendo's, what do they call them? What do they call them when they release all their information? I forget the word that they call their little broadcast. Yeah, the Nintendo Directs are super popular because Nintendo's just like, whatever, here's the information that we have. I mean, and they could save all that information for an E3 of that year, but Nintendo does whatever Nintendo does, and they don't really care. And they just kind of throw out their information. And I think a lot of people are probably going to start going that route. Game announcements are going to be a lot shorter. I think, we're going to start seeing that in the future, that these long lead times leading up to these games and then having these expectations that you can't really meet are going to start to go away. So it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be very interesting to see E3 this year compared to what it has been in the past. I mean, Sony's not going to be there. It'll be interesting to see what Xbox does. So real quick, let's talk about the live stream that we had yesterday, Wednesday. That's the 6th. I think today's the 7th? Yeah, today's the 7th. So we had a live stream yesterday. Ben and Jesse got on Twitch, and they started talking about a lot of the changes that are going to come up in the March 12th patch that we're going to have. So first of all, and you guys can stop me when you want to talk about these things, I picked out like the most important ones. They said there's going to be like over 300 changes. They're not going to put everything in the patch notes, but the patch notes are going to release next week also with the patch. But a couple of things that they said that they're going to work on is the PS4 fix. The PlayStation 4 has been crashing and completely shutting off. I don't know if it's like a caching issue or what exactly is going on. They haven't said what's causing it to shut down. But people's PlayStation 4s are shutting off while they're playing the game, and that sucks because that can be pretty scary. You spend all the money on a PlayStation 4, and you worry that this game that you're playing is bricking the system. They announced that it's not actually bricking the system. You just have to do a power reset. I don't own a PlayStation 4, so I don't know how to do that. I assume you just unplug it from the wall, throw it in the trash, and then go buy a computer. I don't know if that's exactly how you fix that problem. But they said they found a fix a couple different ways, so that's going to come out in the patch. Which I would be upset if I was a PlayStation 4 owner. I don't know how something like this didn't get caught during the open demos. I mean, we had lots of people on the PlayStation 4 playing then. So is that something that just comes with playing over time, past?
I mean, it obviously didn't. It only just started happening, so, I mean, it's a live service game, and they're not going to be able, games get more and more complicated. They're just not going to be able to catch everything. And I think one thing we've kind of talked about, off the show is like, having early access or early release, where they're working out all the kinks and the bugs, is something I think where live service games can really benefit from that. It's like, because people can get into these builds and everything else early and come in with the understanding that, yeah, it's still a work in progress. And, Anthem, live service game is always a work in progress, just like Destiny or The Division or anything else. It's constantly evolving and changing. And when they change things, it can break other things. That's why it's so complicated when they, when they're like talking about, they've fixed things, or they have gotten rid of, where you can't be revived, or it's respawn restricted areas, but they've had to leave them in for reasons. It's like they have a lot of complicated stuff in there. They can't fix everything perfectly, and obviously something they updated, broke it on the PlayStation, but they figured it out.
And the nice thing is they reported that they haven't had any official reports that people's systems have been bricked.
Yeah,
which is nice. If that was happening, then that we'd be having a different episode 76, I think. But luckily that's not happening. The next thing, the res timer. We have a res timer now instead of just going down and having to wait to be revived by the players, like in strongholds and during certain missions. We have a 30-second timer that we can just wait for. Especially, sometimes I usually try to look out to see if any players are down. But when you're fighting and you're focusing on, attacking mobs, you find yourself not looking up in that left corner and seeing if people are actually down. If, like I said, pretty close to my PC monitor, and you kind of just get tunnel vision when you're fighting, and then you're like, oh, flying around. It's like, oh, someone's down over there. I guess I better go pick them up. So,
well, and a part of that is they also said that they're decreasing the amount of those areas, right?
Yeah, so they're clearing out the respawn restricted areas, but as much as they can.
So that should maybe help with that too, because I think the question was, I go down, and no one's there to help me, get back up. So I think their solution there was twofold: decreasing the areas, and then also putting a timer on for like when you're fighting a swarm tyrant, and maybe you can't get to someone in time. So
the one thing I wonder about that, though, is it just going to res you right there, or do you have to respawn back somewhere else, right? So if you're in, specific areas like a stronghold or something else, we don't know how many of those areas have been affected, but is it going to put you behind a door, which is going to
then won't open
there and then teleport you back into the area? So like on console, load times are not very great. Which that was one of the things I experienced playing on the Xbox, and I was like, oh, I'll just respawn because they're over fighting these guys. And I was like, oh, this was a bad decision.
This is a bad idea.
And then I told him we should be playing on a PC where, and have an M.2 drive and it loads really fast. But
Devon getting all technical on him, dropping bombs.
They're like, oh, you're up high and mighty PC Master Race, huh?
It's true. It's hard to go back from that. Yeah, this is going to be interesting because when you die during free play, it spawns you back at the nearest Strider, and then you have to return to the place where you died. Which is
it the nearest Strider, or is it the Strider that you launched in with?
I don't die often, so I'll have to do some science.
Right.
I'll have to do some
storm.
Fair enough. No, I die quite a bit, but usually I have teammates there to res me.
Yeah,
right.
So I don't normally die and then have to res myself. So
right.
I don't think I've been in a respawn restricted area where it's been like, a very long time where I'm just sitting there and waiting and nobody comes to res me. I don't know. I've been trying to think about that since yesterday. Like, has there been a time where it's been like I've just been sitting there for minutes on end, and I don't think I've ever been like even a minute of me just sitting there and waiting. Unless there's a bunch of enemies right on top of me, and then it's understandable because they can't get to me. But
a minute is a long time.
Yeah, unless I'm like,
it's a long time.
As a storm main, sometimes I spend a lot of time waiting to get rezzed because shields aren't the best. I'm just barely getting my masterworks and my legendaries. But yeah, I've had enough. I've been down for long enough to where I can pick up my phone, scroll through Twitter, and they'd be like, "Oh, they're back." So it's never like you said, Devon. It's never been like 2-3 minutes. But when you're playing the game, you want to be playing the game. You don't want to be down on the ground. So
but I think also you can look through your menus, right? So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think it's made worse by. I think it's made worse by the fact that when people go down on your team, it's not exactly a big notification on the screen. A lot of the times when I've been playing on Xbox, it really just looks like the person, like the entire team will be down except for one person, and we're all just kind of, there. Usually, all down, sometimes we're close together, sometimes we're not. But the other guy, the guy who's surviving, is just focused on, surviving, and he's still doing the objective, but he doesn't, it's not like he's, incredibly focused on, just surviving. He's obviously going like a little bit more recklessly. So it always just kind of ends up looking like, oh, he's flying our direction because he noticed us after a while, because it wasn't clear to him before. Because you can see the little, health bars in the side of your screen.
Not if your HUD is off.
Yeah, not if your HUD is off, and unless you're looking in that direction, where they are, you don't really see the outline of them down. So the notifications for when your teammates are down, or if you're the last person standing, are not great and non-existent. So it's definitely good to have a respawn timer, especially when you get downed isn't exactly made clear to your team.
I'm going to make an admission that even if they put a audible cue that someone went down and they said your teammate is down, I'd be like, well, that idiot should have been standing out in the open. He can wait until I'm done killing these guys, and then I'll go res him. So
since we're making confessions, in strongholds, when people steam ahead and don't let us kill the enemies to try and get legendaries and masterworks.
If you go down, you're staying down.
I purposely don't res them to teach them a lesson.
Yes,
like
to teach them a lesson. That
yeah, like it's like, hey,
it's not a speed run. It's not a
figure
speed
it out,
run,
bro.
Slow down.
It's like we're here to get gear, and if you blow past all the enemies, I'm not gonna res you, bro.
Yeah, those scorpions that people fly over, that's where I've gotten the most masterworks from strongholds.
And you see, and you didn't believe me the first time.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't normally believe you when you tell me stuff. So
waiting to get respawned and waiting to get revived has easily been where most of my gamer rage has been focused lately. Because I'll just we'll be in a perfectly advantageous situation. Behind cover, no enemies around. There's multiple of us there. He's drawn the enemies away. And gamer rage is so rare for me, but Anthem has had these moments where I am just sitting there. It's been 2 minutes, just with that red screen on there. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, JD, if you didn't die in the first place, you wouldn't have had to wait that long.
They should be able to. Well, I guess if they have the voiceover IP turned off.
Yeah.
Because on Xbox it works perfectly fine, in my opinion.
And I'll ask you guys this. For the amount of hours that I've played, I've never heard a single voice of someone that I have not been partied up with through Discord. I have my VoIP on, and I have that selected so that if anyone wanted to talk, they could, but I have not heard a single person come over my voice comms while I'm playing this game.
I think maybe 3 people total in my time. And that was just a blip, hey, what's up? And then nothing.
Okay.
I think it's definitely it's a different sub world of kind of where we are. There definitely are those players who would prefer to be able to talk to their team, and then there's definitely those that I very rarely find those who are in the middle, who are like, yeah, I can talk sometimes, but sometimes I just want to play. It's been my experience that either you don't want to talk or you want to have conversations and tell everybody your deepest, darkest secrets. So,
which is really listening to a cutscene.
Yeah, it's awesome. Please don't talk over cutscenes.
I try and
what? Yeah.
When I'm playing on somebody else's mission and I finish it real quick for them.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, you're the worst kind of. Okay, so there's no more greens, no more whites when you're level 30. So this is one of the things that Ben talked about when people were like, hey, drops aren't working correctly. We're not getting enough things. And Ben said, you know what? Let's try this change first. Let's see if it works out instead of changing this plus increasing the drop rate and, making that drop rate way out of whack. They think that decreasing the drops here from the greens and the whites at level 30 will increase. I mean, which makes sense. If you're getting rid of 2 rarities out of the loot pool, then you should have a better chance of getting masterworks out of it.
Unless it means that blues and purples are taking their numbers. Because then we're just going to get chest after chest after chest of purples.
Well, that's happening now. So
it is happening now because I think the masterworks and the legendary numbers are so low. They're probably 0.02 or whatever. They've got to be. I mean, I've done the math. So
it is pretty rough.
It is pretty rough, and not that it shouldn't be. Don't get me wrong. I shouldn't be getting a legendary out of every chest that I do, but for every 10 hours, maybe even every 20 hours, maybe I should get a legendary. I should have more than 2 after 140 hours. I think that's clear.
You only have 2?
Yes, I only have 2 legendaries. I have a component and I have a assault launcher. After 140 hours.
So there's a thread currently on Reddit where someone went through and they were comparing their drops because they said they got 44 legendaries in 50 hours by not going for chests, but for going for like legendary enemy. It's a very long thread on Reddit. You can
44 in 50 hours?
They got 44 in 50 hours because they think that when you have an objective, enemies aren't dropping loot correctly. So if you have an objective like during a stronghold where you have to get the echoes, it's applying the drop rate to the treasure chest and not to enemies. But if you're out in free play just killing things, then that drop rate gets changed for some reason, and legendary mobs are actually dropping more legendaries in free play. It's a pretty interesting read. It's pretty long. I just found it before the show. So, I mean, go to Reddit, check it out. And, you know, if there's one thing that gamers are good at is trying a bunch of things and brute forcing all this stuff to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So it's something I'm going to look for because the majority of my time has been in strongholds and in missions. I have not spent a ton of time in free play just because when we're playing, you know, it's like, no, let's go do these missions. We have guaranteed masterworks at the end of these things. But I mean, I got on this morning for 40 minutes, played free play because I just wanted to go around and explore. I found a random treasure chest that looked like a world treasure chest that somehow spawned for me and I didn't have to do anything. And 1 legendary popped out of it. So, I mean, that's never happened to me before. That was like the only thing that I saw. I didn't even see any other mobs in the world, but I got a legendary out of the chest. So I don't know. It's something to try at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I don't know how much time you guys have spent in free play compared to everything else.
I've played a lot of free play, but for me,
there's a quest you have to do.
My legendary drops come from regular mobs, not like higher tiered stuff. So mine's kind of the opposite experience of what they are going through with that Reddit thread. Because you'd think with the higher tier mobs they would drop the higher tier loot, but more often than not for me it's always like, oh, I just killed a regular mob or whatever and boop, out pops a legendary, which I have 16 now. So
you have 16 legendaries?
Yeah.
How many of them are component?
Rage quit.
I have 1 component legendary.
Nope, I'm done.
I have none.
Forget this. Nope. Shut it down.
1 component. One I have. Let's see. I have 1 16? In my strike.
Whatever.
I have 3 or 4 in my. Oh, what's the other ability? 1 of my gear pieces, and then the most of them are in weapons. I have like 7 in my weapons. So.
If you'd like to audition for the 4th member of our Freelancer Codex podcast team, Devon will be leaving us at the end of this month.
So, I mean, I have everything except for 5 components, pieces. I have legendaries in all the other slots, except for obviously support because there's nothing above epic right now. So.
And really, if you're going to increase the level of your javelin, you need to find the other components.
Yes, it's all components. I mean, that's what I'm waiting for. But I keep the legendaries are great, but when they don't pop in areas, I had the same problem with Masterworks, where I couldn't get components for forever, and so I just kept getting weapons after weapons after weapons, and that wasn't just because I was playing in hard mode, But it's great, I keep collecting all the weapons. I know you're upset, Mike. It's salty. Okay.
It is salty.
But. Stop. Everybody has different experience when they're playing, and so, but it definitely needs to be improved and to give you more of the loot that you're looking for. But I think it's also, it's great, playing. We talked about when I played on the Xbox for a little bit. It was great when I played with them because they were, like level 24, 25, and 27. So they were in a different place. None of them had finished the story yet, and none of them had even gotten a masterwork yet, and so. That night, they actually 2 of them got Masterworks, and it was a lot of fun. And So it's good to see, all these people still coming into the game, still progressing, and definitely they don't spend as much time as I do, or Mike, or some of the other people who put in multiple hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'll talk about legendaries later. We'll continue with these patch notes. So you'll be able to start expeditions from anywhere in the fort. So a lot of people have been asking for this. There's a group of people that don't like the fort very much, so they don't like walking around there. They don't like starting down in the enclave, then having to walk to your javelin. So now you'll be able to start that from anywhere. I actually like the fort. I don't mind walking around inside of it. So, I mean, this wasn't really something that I was asking for that much. If we can increase the speed a little bit, I think that would probably take care of a lot of the problems. I think the speed is too slow.
And don't let the NPCs like walk right in front of you. Because you can't get around them.
That's a real marketplace. You can't just walk through people.
I think they do it on purpose.
I think they do.
I'll be walking, and then they're like, "Oh, you're coming? Hold on." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
And then you try to time it where you're like, "Okay, I'll slow back a bit," and then you start, and then they just still get in your way. And it's usually the person with the face grate. And
they're all professional football players.
Are you a cheese grater?
I saw that post on the Reddit where they were basically saying that the AI of the people in the crowd is basically like the video game version of when you're walking around, you almost walk into somebody, and then you step to the right, and then they step to the same direction, and then you're trying to get around each other because you keep sidestepping each other, but you're moving the same way.
Yeah,
it's a lot like that.
It's very realistic then.
Yeah. Also, the way how when you get too close to them, they start making eye contact with your character. And I remember I accidentally ran into somebody, and I just kind of looked, and they were just giving me this death stare, and found that particularly creepy.
It's I just saved your life, okay?
Oh, sorry.
No, you can either do the air guitar, or you can do a dance, or you can throw a flare in their face. That's pretty much the only emote you can do.
Not in the fort. You can't.
Oh, you can't do that. That would be fun though if you could just throw flares at everyone.
The quality of life change, hang on, before you go, the quality of life change that I want to see in the fort, I want all 4 of my javelins on the launch pad, and I want to be able to walk into the one that I want to pilot for that expedition. That's what I want to see.
I think not only would that be quality of life, I think that would just look cool.
Mm-hmm.
If you have your javelins up there.
I want a screen where I can see all 4 of my javelins at once, because sometimes when I'm playing in the Forge, I use a color scheme throughout them all and kind of make them match, and I want to be able to see that. I also want to see each level of my javelin. Do I have a masterwork ranger? Do I have a legendary or an epic colossus? I want to see all that stuff on one screen instead of having to scroll through. But that's me. Sorry.
It makes you wonder because there's on that platform, you never see another javelin there. So it's kind of am I the only freelancer here, or are there other freelancers? Or
but you do see 4 pads. I wonder if it's going to be part of a.
They're still welding on them. Okay, I mean, their welders are not very good. They can't pass code, and the welding inspectors just keep saying, "No, you have too much porosity in these welds."
You're gonna have to keep going, break it up, start again.
Devon did say, having those all out there would give us one less loading screen, which is true. If you want to play with the different javelin, you got to go to the Forge, load into that, then load into the javelins, then select your
There's more javelins than the Storm?
There is. The Storm, I would say, while it looks the coolest, is probably the least played javelin.
Oh, false. False.
So the majority of times I drop in, there are always 2 storms, and usually there's 3 or 4, but there's always 2 storms. All right, then server shutdown. Server shutdown is changing, and it's going to be less annoying. So I don't do a lot of free play, but when I was doing free play, I got this little message pop up, and it said, "Hey, server shutting down in 2 hours." And I was like, "Hey, thanks for letting me know. That's really nice of you. I'm not going to be playing free play for 2 hours, but I appreciate you letting me know." And then I was going on flying around. Hey, server's going to shut down in 1 hour and 59 minutes. Okay, I heard you the first time, but thanks. Keep going. So that goes away. I'm trying to fly. It covers up my bar, and I fall down, and it's like, hey, server's shutting down in 1 hour and 57 minutes. Okay, I'm done. I shut the server down because I'm not going to sit through and watch this bar pub up all the time. So that's a really good change. Glad that's going to be gone. And, they don't really need to tell us that often, but And that's going to change. Okay, the bugged ultimate bar. So if you're a Storm and you're like, all right, I can use my ultimate right away. I can start killing things, and you
That's
start
in every
spamming on that
javelin.
button.
Yeah.
There's more than one javelin. So anyway, the Storm
There's
can't
lots
drop
more.
that. So
There's more javelins besides the Storm than just the Storm.
okay, fair enough. So this bug is going away, and I'm really excited for it. So
That'll be
let's see what else. You can now prime Titans. That's going to be an exciting change.
That'll be fun.
It'll be exciting when Titans are fun to fight instead of how they are now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So one of the cool features that, I mean, and Ace Combat, I think Ace Combat like 4 did this a while ago, that at the end of a mission you can see like where you flew, and it'll do like the little arrow and you can follow it around. And the map actually does this. It'll track where you've been, where you've gone. Every time I'm fighting a Titan, there's just 15 circles in one spot. I'm like, it doesn't feel like good combat to me if all I'm doing is strafing around in a circle, dodging projectiles that can hit me, even though they're nowhere close to me. So I hope that's something that they address. I know, Devin, you actually like fighting Titans.
Yeah.
You're kind of weird like that, but it just, I mean,
So I'm an
what about
interceptor,
the
and I
fight?
can just dodge, the fireball, and I don't get hit. And I'm like,
You
all right.
cannot look at me. You cannot look at me with a straight face and say you've never been hit by a fireball that was nowhere close to you.
I have. It's true. So I'm like, okay, cool. But then I just use my ability that gets rid of the effects, and then it's not a problem. And I just keep going.
Okay, and that's fine, but I mean,
I know it's definitely can be frustrating, especially for people that get knocked down by it or have a lot more issues with it, with moving around, because they're not as agile as my javelin of choice.
Well, and it isn't one of the fixes coming that they've changed the knockdown numbers, so you don't get knocked down as hard.
At least for the Colossus.
For the Colossus, that wasn't all 4 javelin.
No, because for the Colossus, when that would happen, it takes them a lot longer to get back up and to move. And so I know playing with some of my friends who main a Colossus, it's super frustrating because they would get knocked down from a Titan or anything else, and then they can't put their shield up or do other things. And so they've definitely made that better because, the developers, they play the game, they get frustrated just like we get frustrated. And so they can see some of those things firsthand, and they understand.
And go, oh, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, I've been playing the Colossus more and more. I've actually been dividing a lot of my time between the Colossus and the Ranger more than the Storm. I spent a lot of time in the Storm during the crit path, but the biggest problem with the Colossus is just when any of its animations get interrupted, all of its animations by default are so much slower than any other javelin. So it's like if you started reloading something, even if it's the same gun that you have on other loadouts, it feels slower, and it doesn't really help that because you lack shields, lack energy shields like the other javelins, like the Ranger or the Storm or the Interceptor. It just really kills you because you end up you get interrupted in the middle of a reload, or you go to use an ability, or you get overheated and knocked to the ground, and the animations for the Colossus just end up getting so slow, and you don't feel like you can react. Thank God you're so tanky.
Duchess says Colossus is hardcore.
You your tankiness.
So it's for a Dark Souls experience, you play as the Colossus. I never.
Hey, Mike, are you sitting down currently?
Yeah.
So Fajan from chat says he got 4 legendaries today while he was playing.
Ooh, that lucky guy.
So moving on.
I want to thank you all for joining us for episode 76 of the Freelancer Codex podcast. We there's a Shaper Storm on the horizon. We'll see y'all next
all the
week.
wrong things.
So Masterworks have been buffed. They were saying that Grandmaster 2 and Grandmaster 3 is it's too much of a climb. So they're going to buff the Masterworks to compensate for that, which led us to a lot of new information. There's a great Reddit thread about the scaling that Anthem is doing, and it really is based on your gear number that you're adding on there. And it does... So it changes the scaling.
I'm going to stop you there. And I got to talk about something.
You're serious. Okay.
I am serious.
I'm sitting down now.
I want to take a moment and reach out to, I don't know who. This is not fun.
Alex Trebek.
Oh, Alex.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah, that is sad.
Way to go, Steven.
Hearts go out to Alex. Well, he was on my mind because I've been thinking about him all day because I love Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, have any of us lived through a time where he wasn't the host of Jeopardy?
Nope.
I'm pretty old.
You are pretty old. So
I have. Jeopardy wasn't around when I was born, just so you know.
Thoughts and prayers out to Alex Trebek. He's a nice guy. Mike, do you really have a thing, or are you just like, you know,
frustrated at his lack of
I don't.
legendaries?
I think you're just trolling me now because
I am.
He just doesn't like Phaedron anymore.
if I don't get them, nobody can.
No one else can. Shut down the game.
Steve, what do you think? We talked about all these things that are coming, these things that'll happen on March 12th when the game updates. What do you think should happen now?
So for the next patch, you mean?
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were told that dialogue in Strongholds would like go away after we run them so much?
I do remember that.
Yeah, that's something that they could bring about. Like I know Sev is like a Corvus agent. He doesn't like spiders. He doesn't like omelets.
Yeah.
I think we're okay with that. Like we can be done. We can just run the mission and we don't have to hear that dialogue, and I would be okay with it. And
I also remember when they said that getting enough damage on a Titan would interrupt its attacks.
I do that all the time if you have an impact damage.
Also, freeze damage is pretty good at extinguishing fire attacks. Like it's fire attacks.
But stopping them completely though, I don't think I've ever been in one where the attack has stopped completely.
I
thought that's one thing we were promised.
We'll show you. It's pretty. We take
whatever.
Turns. It's pretty easy.
He gets legendaries. I can't play with people who get legendaries.
Well, that's why you should play with this.
Legendaries. I have none.
PC.
It's true. Master Race.
One day they'll get crossplay in, and then we can all play. You know.
No, so I actually have quite a long list of things that I've been thinking about through the week that I would like to see. Some of them aren't necessarily changes; they're more just like philosophy on the game. I don't think that all the weapons we get should have the same base damage, base magazine size, and base reload.
But you're talking about the same weapon, right?
The same weapon.
Yeah, I'm talking like if you have two Devastators side by side, currently the damage is exactly the same when you get them based on their rarity.
Magazine size is the same.
The only thing that's different is inscriptions.
Inscriptions can change those things, but I don't know why they have it. Like, you know, playing Diablo, like you could get the same Thunder Fury that, you know, same level or whatever. Yeah, I guess you can never have the same thing because those, you know, hey, this one has a higher DPS. This one has, you know, this one gives you more intelligence or whatever, depending on what build you're doing. So I don't know exactly why they do it this way. I don't know if it's just for like a clean, like, hey, this is the base gun, you know, and if that's the case, like, why even show us those stats at all? That doesn't make much sense to me if we're basing everything off the inscription.
Well, I think that's what it's for is for those number crunchers to be able to say, you know, if this gives you plus 15 rounds in the magazine or plus 15% in the magazine, they want to be able to have a number that tells you that.
And that's fine when they give us a stat sheet, but currently, you know, the only people that are going to do that are people that have Excel open that can actually put those numbers in.
Well, and I'm sure those people are out there. I'm sure those people are out there, and that's probably why it's done like that.
No, I mean that doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me that like we need to have a stat sheet first of all, and they talked about that. They're working on it. They know it needs to be in there. So that's something that I think is high priority. Give us that information. Like and my thing with the weapons, like the item level, it just makes it so, you know, there's no reason not to have like a level 61, a level 62 and a level 63 weapon. Like jumping from 62 to like 65 to the next tier is skipping over a lot of content people can be pushing through. I mean, it'd be exciting if you're like, man, I just need one more thing to get me to this next little level to push me over the edge to where I can actually do Grandmaster 2. Right now, it's like, okay, it doesn't matter what masterwork I get, I'm going to be able to go from Grandmaster 1 to Grandmaster 2. It could be something that doesn't even work with my build, but this number that it has attached to it is going to get me over that hump. Even though it'd be better if I was looking for something that gave me, you know, fire damage, plus fire damage, or, you know, plus whatever else. Right now, it's just a numbers game based on that one number on these items. even if your build isn't optimized to anything, you can still go in there and you can shoot stuff and kill stuff.
It's going to take you a little bit longer. You know, we don't have proper builds. You know, that I think that's one of the other things that make Grandmaster 2 and 3 a little bit harder is when you're not, you know, taking the time. Because, right, I mean, you have to invest the time in looking at the inscriptions and saying, okay, this is what I'm trying to do with these builds. Or, you know, because there's not a stat sheet, so there's not an easy way to say, okay, I need, you know, an acid build or, you know, elemental builds and different things. And so if you're not taking the time, I mean, I know when I first tried to go into Grandmaster 2, it's like, oh, okay, this just takes forever because I was doing exactly what you're saying. I was just throwing whatever masterwork I got, my highest gear in there. None of it matched. It wasn't helping. And so until I got a lot more of that higher gear, I couldn't really, you know, do anything. I wanted to try it, and I was like, okay, this sucks because it takes forever. But once I started to get more and more stuff, and I could, okay, here's the build I like. This is what it increases my damage. It works better for acid resistance or this and that. And so now I can go in there, and it's a lot easier. You know, when I do free play, I usually do Grandmaster 2 and go through there. But you have to stick with everybody so it's easier and doesn't take a lot of time if you're not sticking with people.
Do you think a shooting range in the fort would help with that?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, I think the only thing that's going to help with that is going to be the stat sheet. That's going to be the easiest way for the most people to adjust their builds without having to take the time. I mean, because a lot of people aren't going to take that time to do that. They're just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to throw the gear on. I don't really know what it does. You know, but when they can see the easy, you know, a graph or a stat screen that shows them, okay, this is putting these pieces together, adds more, it takes away some of the effort and allows people who don't want to, you know, put the time in to figure that out.
Well, I think the stat sheet just gives you the opportunity to get in there quicker and start playing instead of, you know, doing your own math in your head. Like I would like to know like what my damage per second is just by looking at a number. Like Diablo does this. Dad did it. It worked for them, and that's how these things work.
That's how America does it.
If I install all these components, I want to see, okay, what is my fire damage now? What is my impact damage? What is my, because right now you can look at all these inscriptions and they're so confusing right now as they are. And they said that they're going to work on them. And, you know, I'm glad they are because it's a system that needs a lot of work that can make this game into, you know, an amazing game. And I love the game. I love it how it is. I know it's going to change and it's going to become better, but these are the things that I'm looking forward to because I do want to be like, okay, this is my lightning build. How high can I get this number up? And if it takes me an hour compared to 10 minutes to go through my items, I would rather do the 10 minutes. And I mean, it just has to be there. It's an RPG. It needs to be there.
I would like their gear pieces to be sorted by like gear, you know, so it's the same thing.
Yes.
The hardest thing is like when you're going through to try and remember what gear piece I have currently selected. And when I'm comparing them, I'm like, well, what does this gear piece look like? So I'm like, okay, I have to back out. Okay, let me look at this gear piece again. All right, let me look exactly for those gear pieces and find them, you know. So I would like it to be, you know, a little bit better organized or ways that I can customize it some more. I mean, you could do a little bit of searching, you know, on PC and you can kind of filter stuff, but it doesn't really help very much.
And a lot of the icons look very, very similar.
Yeah.
Like playing with the Storm, there's one that has the exact same icon, but this left nut is highlighted, and on this other piece, it's the right nut that's highlighted. They really do look like nuts and bolts on the pieces. That's why I say nut. So you guys get your heads out of the gutter there.
You should know I live in the gutter.
I know.
We just lost our PG rate. I'm just kidding.
So I mean, a lot of these
chat,
changes.
I have a question from chat. Who's gotten a legendary in the time that we've been talking since Phaedron got his 4? Anybody? Anybody out there?
Looks like
17
people have gotten legendaries in the last minute.
So. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It's whatever.
Every time a bell rings, somebody gets a legendary.
So what about all the challenges that we have, guys? What do you think about the challenges that were given in the game? Do you think they're rewarding at all? Do you think they need to be changed? Are they too long? Like,
what do you mean, like the daily, weekly, and monthly challenges?
No, I think he's talking about the trials, Devon. You and I, because I talked to Steven about this, the conversation that you and I were having, where right now I'm working on, I think it's 1,500. No, it's 25. Well, I'm on the first step, so I'm at 25 quick plays, 100 strongholds, 50.
It should be like
Is
100...
it 50 strongholds or is it 100?
No, it's only like 25 strongholds. 100 is like world events.
Okay. So I obviously haven't finished it yet. And Devon, what do you get from that step?
So when you complete that step, you get the Reaver vinyl, which is that red skull vinyl that I have on my interceptor that I tweeted out I think 2 days ago. Okay. And get you some coin. So that was pretty cool because I like that, if you look through the codex and stuff like that in a lot of their challenges, they have, decals for people that you're going to get when you accomplish some of these things. Some of the challenges are pretty crazy. And it's like, we don't know how to complete some of them. There's challenges that just have question marks. You're like, it just says keep playing and to figure it out. And so, which is cool, gives you some mystery. But, so I thought that was cool to get through that phase. For me, it gives me something to keep doing. I enjoy working towards that progress. And so, like I finished that 2 nights ago because I found that quick play on normal works just fine. Mm-hmm. So, and this is something that I talked with Mike about was when we were originally playing and we both got to level 30. We switched from hard to grandmaster. That we felt like the bugs and issues actually escalated when you go to the higher difficulties, which was pretty strange. And so in my experience, the lower the difficulty, the less bugs I have. So I don't know. That's just my experience. And so, but I know playing on normal, I had no issues with any of the quick plays, and I was able to complete. I had 9 out of 25 when I started 2 days ago, and it took me 2.5 hours to get the rest.
Nice.
I even got Masterworks. I even got 2 Masterworks while I was playing on normal. So,
okay. What are some of the numbers that you're working on now? Then, because then that'll lead into my next question.
Yeah. So the next one is quite a bit. It's like 2,500. Find it for you. I mean, it seems like a big number, but it's not horrible.
I mean, it's something you're going to be doing while you're playing the game anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to go out of your way to kill things.
Yeah. So,
right.
They posted it on. I can't find it on my phone, but it's like 2,500 of each faction, right? Then you have to kill 1,000 elite enemies and 200 legendary enemies. And so, just from playing the couple hours, the 3 hours I played yesterday, and I got to play about an hour today, I have like 600 elites killed, and legendaries I'm at maybe 25 or 26. Because I just played the legendary contracts, which they're not so legendary, but
you mean they're more like epic because
they're masterwork contracts.
Yeah, they're master. I mean, really, that's one thing I was also thinking about was when they decided to make legendary a higher tier than masterwork, they kind of screwed up some of their naming stuff, in my opinion, where a legendary contract, it gives you a masterwork, so if the legendary was still below masterwork, that would still be fine. It should be called masterwork contracts if they're just going to give you a masterwork item.
Right.
Yeah.
Legendary contracts should give you legendary items to do them, and they should be a lot harder because they're really not that difficult to do.
Yeah, I think the naming, there is a naming issue in the game, like being consistent with what you're calling things all the time. There's an issue, and that's something that can be cleaned up. So it'll be cleaned up in the future, I'm sure. And
so looking into the codex, Devon, I don't know if you have or not. What is the reward for finishing this step?
For this step, it just lists. It doesn't list another decal. I think it's just coined for this step, but there is another step that follows it. So.
It's just coined for this step.
For the second step, it's just coin.
So do you think the time reward ratio is adequate?
I think so because I don't think it's going to take too much time really to get that. I mean, the numbers go up pretty steadily. I was surprised at. I mean, I haven't posted it yet to our Discord, but I took a picture of like day one. This is what I completed on the first day, and I'm going to take a picture each day of how it improves and see the progress. But I don't think it's too hard because I mean the weeklies. Sometimes it is hard to get one of the factions fully complete at the end of the week. So I have to focus on killing. Usually it's Dominion or Outlaws. That I have to really focus on to get to 500 for the weekly, but it just seemed like once I started this, the numbers were going up, so maybe it's easier for me to track because I can see it more often.
Cool. So I think that's what Steve was alluding to was the reward / time issue that is this stuff rewarding?
I mean, for some of them it is, with the decals and stuff. I prefer with a lot of these longer term ones or the bigger contracts, like the Challenge of the Legionnaires or the Legendary Freelancer. The Legendary Freelancer is going to take a long time. There's a lot of steps to it, and that can only be found in the Codex when you go under the challenges list. It has the decal as well as coin in there. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know that. What is it? The Champion of Tarsus, or whatever that one, where you have to get 50,000 experience in every faction. It gives you the
That's
gold.
A lot.
Yeah, it gives you the gold shader for your javelin, and it gives you masterwork blueprints for components. And my problem with that is by the time I finish the 50,000 for those.
You'll be legendary.
You're not going to need
legendary, so those masterwork contracts are going to be pointless.
The masterwork blueprints.
Right, blueprints. Yeah, the masterwork blueprints are going to be pointless by that time.
Well, and aren't they pointless right now? Where you are right now?
What's that?
Aren't they pointless like for you now?
Well, I mean, they'd be good because you can re-roll for the inscriptions because you can't change the inscriptions, and so you're just looking for loot drops. And most of the time, I just look at them and I'm like, no, this doesn't really help me. So I salvage pretty much everything I get on all my drops now.
And I think when we were talking before, we were talking early about when we learned about the crafting system, we were all hoping that the crafting system would be beneficial to us. It would have items that you can't get anywhere else. And right now, that's just not the case. It's not really a crafting system. It's a reroll system. I mean, it's not
I guess only in the sense when crafting consumables and sigils that you can put in, that's the only time you can get those. Yeah. Because those don't show up as world drops.
Yeah, so those are good. I mean, that's pretty much, and even then, I don't really craft those until I'm doing like Grandmaster 2.
Yeah,
it's kind of it seems like a waste. I mean, unless they had one that was for luck, I mean, I would use that one every time. But
yeah, you're wasting your 999 epic embers. So and I really wish that there was an item or a set or something that's like you can only get this through crafting, and it just doesn't have that. So crafting is just going to be one of those systems eventually that you are not going to use.
Yep.
If you haven't already stopped using it.
I mean, like I was crafting things in the demo, but the crafting becomes pointless if you don't have the stuff for the factions, because the whole thing is that, like, I have masterwork javelins, at this point, and I got that just through sheer loot. I am only like rank 3 in one of the factions right now. I'm very close to rank 3 on the other two, like very close. I'll probably get that over the weekend if I'm not too busy playing Devil May Cry 5. But like, just the fact that oh man, I totally lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
You were gonna say that you don't want to craft a masterwork anything right now because you're afraid that
I can't craft anything masterwork. I can't even craft legendary stuff.
He hasn't got any of the blueprints for it.
That's
right. You can't craft anything legendary.
And that's so, like, to me, that's frustrating because I have a masterwork javelin, and the highest thing I can create on some of my items, depending on it, is rare. Like, I can only craft rare things at the moment. I can't craft some of the other things are still stuck at uncommon for crafting. So, like, why is that connected to faction reputations when it should have been connected to, like the overall quality of your javelin? Like, if you have a javelin that is legendary or masterwork, like, why would you not already have that ability to unlock things? Because I have a lot of masterwork shards, because I've been getting a lot of masterwork duplicates for storm components, colossus components, things that I cannot use. I have enough masterwork components to craft a masterwork anything, and I can't.
Yeah,
and that's frustrating.
It's really, there's some of the stuff that's set behind the factions, but the other things like weapons and such are behind you having to use them and go through events and killing people, or if you look through the challenges, if you go down to the weapons, it'll show you what level you're at, and it'll give you those blueprints just by using them for the weapons and gear, but it doesn't do that for components. So that's what's really tied behind the faction stuff, is more component side blueprints. But the other stuff is following their challenges and completing the challenges for what they require. Like if they're doing world events, or they're killing legendaries with that gear equipped, or doing different things, it tells you in the challenge section what you need to upgrade to the next blueprint. So
and we can talk more about this later as we spend more time with the system, and I'm sure these things will change, because it's just a weird system right now. All right, I'm going to say something nice. So I really like the writing in the game. I think they did a fantastic job on the cortexes, all the backstory that you can get through these things. So I was out wandering around in free play, and I found 4 different entries. There's this little camp looking off into the distance, overlooking the mountain. And it's the story of someone that went out there looking for answers on, either, what's the meaning of life? Why are we here? And it just follows this person's story on, hey, why are we here? It's like, okay, I don't think it means anything. Like, should I just end it? And eventually to a point where they're like, I think I'm going to go to Anthem, and I'm going to, start my own religion. And I thought it was just really interesting to go out there, the middle of the world, read someone's story, and it makes the world feel lived in.
Yeah.
And it just it's like, oh wow, there can be more. There's other people living in this world, bigger cities that eventually we are going to see, I'm sure. And it's fun to read those things. Like, I love finding them and just being able to, like, okay, there's more stories in this game than the story that I'm experiencing right now. I just bit my tongue,
There's a lot of great collectibles out there. That's one of the fun things, like you're saying, when you're flying around, there's a lot of cool stuff to collect, and they all have a lot of text and stuff. And sometimes I don't read them, but then I'll go back into the cortex afterwards. It's like, oh, I don't have time to read it now. I got to go do this. And so I'll go back, and I like, that it highlights everything where there's new things for you to read. And even when you accomplish things, it puts things into the cortex that you might not know about. So it's good to go back into there. Like they have, I really like the personal email system. That was pretty cool, where you get emails from the NPCs. Mike is like, what are you talking about? Personal email system?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I played 140 hours.
It's fun because there's a lot of different information in there. You can tell the writers put a lot of time into that. And so the story is deeper than just the critical path, and there's a lot to be found there. You just have to go into the user interface and read it, and it's there for you. And really, it's just like, oh, there's a whole nother thing to collect. It's like, okay, there's another, there's one for every faction that's out there. Okay, you got to find stuff for Dominion and all these different things. And so I'm constantly still looking for all of those out while I'm doing free play. It's fun.
Right on. So real quick, because we've been talking for a really long time, and we have a couple of things that we wanted to get to. Last points on this. We need to double flight time or get rid of the overheating while we're not in combat. Full stop. I think we can all agree on that. And if you don't agree on that, then you spend
You're
way too much time
wrong.
on the
What did you
ground.
say? Overheating? You don't want to overheat while you're in combat?
No overheating unless you are in combat.
Yes, I'm all for that. Or if they just like really lower the rate when you're out of combat, because it does not feel like it's long enough.
I mean, they could use more, for sure. But I don't think it needs to be none, but I think they could definitely increase it.
Devon, when you woke up this morning, did you want to be wrong?
Hey.
Or like, did that show
Everybody
up
has
just
opinions, all right?
Well, I mean, and opinions
The one
can
thing
be
they need
wrong,
to get rid
and right
of
now
is
this
those
one's wrong.
electric snipers that are out there when you're flying around.
Phaedron in the chat doesn't agree, but Phaedron's wrong. So we'll move
Phaedron
on.
is wrong.
So Sarlia, so our favorite French
Freelancer
community member from our freelancer from our Discord asked this question. So I want you guys to go crazy and think about the craziest thing that you would like to see in Anthem. Double flight time. No, I'm just kidding. JD, you go first since you have something written down here.
Yeah, so one of the characters that you end up meeting as one of the side stories in Fort Tarsus is a man named Cassian. What?
What'd you call me?
I didn't call you anything. What are you talking about, man?
Keep going.
Carry on, JD.
He was just saying when he said Bastion.
All right.
Keep going. There you go.
Bad word.
Anyways, one of the people that you meet in Fort Tarsus is this man named Cassian. He comes from I forget exactly where, but he talks a bit about how he comes from a place where there's a lot of more naval things going on where he's from. Like there's a caravan, they use boats, they have they do a lot of trading in the water. There are javelins attached to that. And honestly, when I thought about the craziest thing that I would like to see in Anthem, I want to see that. I want to see the naval side of Anthem. We already have the swimming. They talk about how they have the javelins tethered to the ships because they don't want the javelins to be able to fly away if the ship is sinking.
This is in Anthem?
This is an Anthem. This is one of the people that you can meet in the bar.
That guy somehow I missed this or something.
Yeah, Cassian is in the bar. Yeah,
that was like weeks ago. So I'm like, I'm like what?
He's a cool.
Maybe you should read your codex.
I should read it more. I should go back.
He talks about how they tether the javelins to the ship so they don't fly away in case the ship sinks. Like basically, you want to protect the ship, and I think that's cool. I think you could probably take a little bit further, but I would love to see some naval battles in Anthem, like up in the air, underwater, like really just coming up on things. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure how much level design has to go into an open sea battle. I'm not a game developer, but I think it could be really cool.
Is that the guy whose brother is there and he wants us to... Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember. I was like, that's familiar to me.
Yeah, I think the idea of naval battles sounds really cool. So, Mike, do you have a crazy thing that you would like to see in Anthem?
No, not crazy. I'd like to see. I'd like to see more of everything. Just more of everything.
But the question is.
Yeah. So no, nothing crazy. Sorry. Okay. How about this? I want. Nope. I got nothing. I can't even come up with anything off the top of my head. Sorry.
Well, Devon, something crazy that you want to see in the game.
Snake creatures in the game. Big, crazy snakes that are all over. We do have some of the water snakes. I don't know if you guys have seen those, usually by the Titans. They're really fast and they disappear into the geometry. I keep trying to shoot them.
Okay.
And they're blue. So
they're sad?
No, like they're the color blue. They look more like eels.
Okay.
You probably can't see them on low graphic settings.
I don't know. I don't play on low graphic settings. So.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
But I think more creatures in general would be great. But I think snake creatures would definitely lend themselves easily into
snakes, clowns,
big
snake clowns.
Snakes.
I'm gonna have to say it's snake clowns because you put that image in my head.
It's a perfect boss. All right,
Why did it have to be?
It's
snakes?
in many RPGs. Okay,
it's funny.
It's true. So craziest thing that I can think of is I don't know. All of a sudden we get transported to Earth and the whole world falls into, I don't know, I can think of some crazy things. Black hole. I would like to see cool armor sets in the store as the craziest thing that I would like to see. All right, moving on. Guys, did you know that, so Audible is actually sponsoring the podcast. If you go to audibletrial.com/freelancer codex, that's audibletrial.com/freelancer codex, and you sign up, you can get a free credit to get a book, an audiobook, one of over 180,000 books on their website that you get to keep forever, even if you cancel after signing up for your free credit. So pretty much we're giving you a free book and we're getting something back from you guys, and we really appreciate it. So there's romance books, there's mystery books, there's self-help books, there's science books, there's all kinds of books that have been read for you. So while you're driving, while you're gardening, while you're doing the dishes. You can just, sit down, chill out, listen to the latest Brandon Sanderson epic for 72 hours. That's something you can do. Devon, do you have a recommendation that you would like to share with all the freelancers?
I do. So I like to listen to books while I am grading papers. I say grading papers because where I work, the employees have to turn in all the paperwork, and I have to look over all the paperwork and check for mistakes. And,
you go through a lot of red pens?
No, I don't write on the paperwork because they have to fix it and turn it back in. And so I go through a lot of Post-it notes with arrows and fix this crap. But so I like to listen to books while I'm sitting there at my desk every week, grading every single piece of paper that they write on. But anyways, so the book series that I'm going to recommend that I really like, I found this book series about 9 years ago when I was in Australia. The book series is by an Australian author. Technically, this is in the teen section, so it's an easy read. It's
young adult.
Young adult. But so it's set in basically like medieval times, right? So it's called The Ranger's Apprentice. And there are, I think, 14 or 15 books in the series. He also has a companion series that goes along with it that takes place with a whole different group of people. But the very first book is called The Ranger's Apprentice, The Ruins of Gorlon, right? So I don't want to give you any details because it unfolds pretty easy for you as you're going through it, but it's a lot of fun. There's knights, there's rangers, as the title would tell you, and lots of cool mysteries and different things that go on. It's a really fun series, and it's a short listen. That first book's only about it's a little under 8 hours. So, and I really like the narrator. It's weird though. In the second book, they switched to a different narrator.
Ooh, that's always hard.
Every other book is back to the regular one, and I really wish they would re-record the second book because it's really annoying when I go back through the series and listen to it again. I just really don't like that guy's voice in this. But so I would recommend that series if you like medieval type times with different kind of things, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot about a lot of character development with different people, and just a fun, easy read. So
very cool. And you can get that recommendation from Devon, and you can tell him if he was wrong or not about it by going to audibletrial.com/Freelancer Codex. All right. We are going to jump into some spoiler talk. So if you've not completed the game and you do not want it spoiled, thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to chat a little bit about the critical path, and we're going to spoil that whole thing. So if you want to peace out, I understand. Or, you know what? Maybe us talking about the critical path will enhance your experience. You'll be like, I want to see what these guys were talking about to see if they're wrong or not. We're probably wrong. So you can stick with us. But now JD is going to take us through a discussion on the critical path of Anthem. So JD, last warning, everyone. This is where we're going to start spoiling all the things. Halleck, okay, we're going to do it now. Spoiler alert, starting now. Halleck does not die. I was wrong. Go ahead, JD. Take it away.
Yeah, so obviously we've all played through the critical path by now. We've experienced it for ourselves. We've also have experienced a fair amount, if not all, of the available side stories. So just want to get you guys' overall impressions of the crit path. I know that I've been talking up BioWare's storytelling for a while, so I wanted to hear what you guys thought of the critical path.
Who do you want to start? You want me to start? I'll start.
Let's have Steven start. Let's have him go.
Let's have Steven go last. No.
How does this work? You talk first. I talk first.
Okay, critical path. I really like the story. It did not feel like a normal campaign story to me. This almost felt like the beginning of a TV show in a way. Like this was season 1 of a show that we're going to continue to watch for several seasons. The Monitor, I thought, was an okay villain for an epilogue story. I don't feel like the Monitor was had a huge impact on the world. And something that you learn if you're reading through the Cortex is that the Monitor isn't the only Monitor. The Monitor is actually a name given to Lancer Cypher pilots that have the ability to do that, and they're high up in the Dominion. So there's more Monitors in the world that we could potentially face. But, I mean, I thought it was a fun introduction to the story. Hey, there was this thing that happened. The Heart of Rage kicked our trash as freelancers. We've never been back. We've never been the same. And now they have an opportunity to go back there and right a wrong. And that's what the story is. It's a story of failure and then redemption. And there's a little bit of betrayal thrown in there, a little bit of heartbreak thrown in there, depending on if you talk to Prindle or not. But so I actually really like the story. I mean, I don't think it was like mind blowing or I have anything that I haven't seen before, but I was entertained by the Critical Path story.
All right. How about Devon next?
Yes, I enjoyed the story. It was a lot of fun. I liked the pace it was delivered at. You know, I liked the fact that I could also go and do side missions and other things and come right back to the story. And I think maybe that's why it took me, I don't know, 40 hours to get to. I'd played the game 40 hours when I'd finally 30, 40 hours, something like that, when I'd finally finished the Critical Path. And it was a lot of fun, though. I mean, I don't know why people didn't like it, but I certainly enjoyed it. I enjoyed the characters. There's a lot of good laughs.
Have you met the internet, Devon?
Yes, I have met the internet. And they're negative just to be negative, you know, and those people can suck rocks. And yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was like Steve was saying, it's a great setup for the next parts. And just like they told us, you know, there's a beginning, a middle, and the end. And it'll wrap up that part of the story, but it'll definitely leave room, like it does, for more content and more story. And I'm excited for that. You know, we saw they tweeted out today, I think it was, or yesterday, where they're working on mocap for more story stuff for us and cinematics and whatnot. And there's definitely betrayal, like Steven said. I don't really like betrayal, but you know, I guess depending on how they felt, you know, I don't really know if are we getting into that, you know, betrayal?
Yeah, I mean,
spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah,
So
spoilers.
we can talk about Owen.
Yeah, so Owen, you know, he betrays us and hurt my feelings, and I was really mad. And but then, you know, as I was kind of thinking about it, because so recently I switched jobs, and you know, my prior employers were like, "You betrayed us, and you stabbed us in the back," and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, maybe that's how." You know, I was like, I was moving on to better myself, and you know, Owen was kind of felt like he was being held back and wanted to be, you know, similar like the Monitor, because he is, you know, able to do that, and maybe he's a sucky pilot right now, but he can get better. But I mean, at first I was really upset, and then I was kind of thinking about it from his side, and like, well, sometimes when you need to move on and you need to be able to take those risks, and you have to kind of do things on your own, and people are going to get upset and feel betrayed. And so I kind of, you know, at first really didn't like Owen after that, but now I'm kind of like, okay, I could see maybe a little bit where he's coming from, you know, because he wanted to be a pilot. Everybody kept putting him down. No, you're not ready. You can't do that. You can't do that. And although I did think it was interesting in the very beginning, the first mission, since I've played it a couple times, when on PC and Xbox, when it's basically like he's talking you through on how to use your suit, even though somehow you're the better pilot. Like, it's an interesting dynamic how for a very short time he's actually telling you how to be the pilot. But I mean, at least that's how it seems, you know, when he's talking to you about stuff. In the very first tutorial mission type stuff, was like, this doesn't really make sense. And, you know, when I went to Xbox and I started over, I was like, this mission doesn't really make sense with the rest of the story. But I mean, I understand tutorial type stuff, but I did not like. Go ahead.
Because we had been a freelancer for 2 years prior to that, and we don't know how long we were a freelancer before that also. Yeah.
So, but I just thought it was a little interesting dynamic with the way they were delivering the story. Like, okay, it didn't really work, but it was only for like one mission or two missions, basically. Right. I didn't like the very end with how the Monitor gets destroyed. Is very unsatisfactory. It would have been better, you know, if he had pushed the I can't remember the name right now.
The Cenotaph?
No. The
Strider.
Strider, yes. I was like, what the crap is this? The Strider, you know, if he like went slammed into the wall by the Strider and he died, I was like, that's such a letdown. Yeah. And because that's also a stronghold, you have to go through all the same game dialogue. And then when you get him down to 1 bar of health, he just disappears and it ends. It's over. It's done. So I don't really think that mission should have been a stronghold. It's great they have more boss dynamics a little bit by basically moving, and he changes elements and stuff like that. But I don't want to have to go through the same mission dialogue every time when I'm playing through a stronghold, and I definitely don't want the boss to just disappear with 1 bar of health left. So I think that would have been better reserved for being like a legendary mission, and to go through if they wanted to do that. But
I mean, if just to add on to that real quick, like I know we had a discussion like many episodes ago when we heard that there were only going to be 3 strongholds in Anthem, and we were talking about whether or not that was enough. And if you had told me that it was really 2 strongholds and that the third was just basically just one of the missions, like nothing really changed aside from missing cutscenes, like I probably would have been pretty upset about that because it's not even really 3 strongholds at that point. It's just 2 strongholds and then 1 mission that now has co-op for it. Well, I mean, that now has a playable, replayable co-op for it. So, but
it was very hard though. Like when Mike and I first played it, first time we went through it, we had already reached level 30 and we did it on Grandmaster 1. And that was not easy on our first go through. It took us over an hour to do that mission our first time on Grandmaster 1. And it was definitely tricky. But that's kind of like when we were like, wait, what? That's it? What? What? After all this, fighting for an hour to get here, that's it?
That's it?
Dang, Halleck steals our glory?
So, what about you, Mike? What did you think? I'm sorry, Steve. Did you want to finish that?
Nope. Go ahead, Mike.
No? Okay.
I enjoyed it. It was fun to play through. It all seemed to make sense. I don't have much to say about it other than I can echo a lot of the things that have already been said, and that I enjoyed it. And that's about it.
I mean, it seems like everyone had time to explain everything that they needed to story-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like no one didn't have time to explain things.
I don't have time to explain.
I don't have time to explain what I don't have time to explain.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I actually really liked about the Owen thing is that, you know what? Like looking back, you could kind of see where Owen went and why he took that path.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's like, I can't believe this person actually took this path. But like looking back on it, he writes a note to you in the Cortex saying that, you know what? I wasn't there at the Heart of Rage. I wasn't there with you, Halleck and Faye, so I don't have this bond that you have. But how Owen was your guy in the chair, until you're like, hey, I've got these old friends. Faye's really good at this thing, and Halleck's really good, and Owen just kind of gets sidelined, and he came from a town, he didn't have much, and this is like his chance to make it big, and you kind of just like sideline him for these legendary Freelancer and Cypher pair that you've worked with before. So you can see where he's like, you know what, if I don't do this, then what am I going to be? He's not going to be the main Cypher for the Freelancer, which is actually kind of weird because a lot of the stuff that we saw in cutscenes from EA Play actually didn't make it into the game. But
yeah, I mean, they to kind of write on the Owen thing, because that goes straight into one of my points here. So the build up to Owen's betrayal was actually pretty good. Like at first I didn't think it was enough, but like as I thought back on it, I was more or less convinced that like, yeah, that was a good way to do it. But I will say one of the things that annoyed me about the crit path is that so you have that scene where you later go back to the Fortress of Dawn to like get some of the stuff to improve your Shield of Dawn and all that, and you are told what happens with the Monitor and Owen. Like Owen's face is now all scarred. The Monitor has apparently tried to harness the Heart of Rage and the Cenotaph, and he's gone mad. And all of that is told to you. Like there's like I feel like we didn't get a cutscene like we did for like when the Heart of Rage began. Like Owen just drops and like just a dump of like things that happened off screen, and I was very frustrated by that. That was probably my largest complaint with the crit path, is that it like towards the later acts, it like the pacing gets a little screwed up, and they start telling and not showing, and that was annoying, but it did wrap up in a satisfying way. Definitely a lot like what Mike and Devon were saying, was that it's a very good introductory story. It really feels like the Lost Mine of Phandelver for Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like it's a short adventure that you can take your party on. It's nothing particularly spectacular, but it gets you and your friends, into a group, kind of involved in the world, and then from there you can get into things like the Rise of Tiamat, the Horde of the Dragon Queen, the Curse of Strahd, or things like that. Like you can start getting into the more like gritty, juicy D&D adventures from there, except Anthem, of course. I think we'll skip this second topic, but where would you guys like to see the story go next? Now that we've talked about like how things went in the story, where would you like to see it go next? Let's start with Mike.
I think there needs to be some world expansion. Maybe we can leave Bastion and visit Freemark, and maybe what's the other city? Atrium.
Antium is the capital.
Antium.
So that's the huge city.
Yeah, so maybe we can visit other places.
Freemark was destroyed.
But you can still go there. It's still a ruin. I mean,
Yep.
Even Dol Guldur was a ruin.
We even have
find those ruins out
Strauheim that we could go to.
Yeah, that's the Dominion's home turf.
Yeah,
That'd be
so
pretty interesting.
just more places to go is something that I could definitely see.
Yeah, also being able to check out Fort Tuo, because apparently they have really good beer there. Apparently that Yarrow is just crazy about.
2 month journey. Right, JD. It's a long journey.
This guy, he's good for that. So I want to see what this is all about. But Devon, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, they say 2 months in Strider, but man, Striders are slow. You could walk there faster.
But you can kill a monitor with them.
You could fly there in a javelin. I guess you can. You don't have a.
Go ahead, Devon. Sorry.
All right. So what would I like to? Where would I like the story to go next? So I would like to see, where Owen goes, right? See what he's doing. I'd also like to see, the other alien race, basically.
The Urgoth.
That is showing off there. They a scout just found this, whatever. So I'd really like to see where that went, because they once ruled the planet basically, and humanity were enslaved by them until the Legion of Dawn freed us. So I don't think that they can't really have freed or cleared everything. Maybe they cleared a part of the world, but I definitely would like to see them kind of come and attack us more. More enemies. Like I said, more story type areas, things to go do, even if they're smaller side quests like the Yarrow, the Matthias, and
Bryn.
I was trying to remember that other lady that Steven doesn't like.
Tassin,
yeah.
She's the Corvus lady.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd like more of those stories. That could maybe feature around new strongholds or something like that, where you're going on these are the missions that culminate with that stronghold mission, and then it becomes available. It's like, there's this creature or whatever else, or these things that you have to go and destroy and find these ruins or whatever else, or the relics that are creating these creatures. Which I really liked the story. I forget his name, where that creature was following him, right? The one they're talking about, where it's following him for forever, and they wanted to join the Legion of Dawn. Maybe you haven't got to this yet.
Oh, yep.
I shouldn't tell you these things. If you
No,
haven't
you can tell.
the Challenge of the Legionnaires. So Challenge of the Legionnaires, by the way, there's some good story that goes along with that, and it is more tell and not show, JD, but it is
okay.
a good tell, and so I shouldn't go into that. You guys haven't got there yet.
I mean, I think I think it's all in the Cortex. If you've gone,
is it all already there? Like what he talked about?
Yeah, you should all be there.
So, but I mean, he goes into more detail on different things and adds more to the story. So I don't want. I'll have to double check before I do it.
So
All right.
one of the interesting things is like the Urgoth are back. We don't know exactly where the Urgoth went after Helena defended the gates. It just kind of we don't know exactly what happened other than Helena fell and the Urgoth kind of disappeared, and then we holed up in the Legion in the Fortress of Dawn, and then from there we went to Anthem to create the foundation for humanity. But one of the things I think the Sunken is the stronghold that's going to be coming up. I forget what month it's
Next month?
coming in. Is it next month?
Yep.
So I think that's probably going to tie in with the reappearance of the Urgoth. We know that the Shaper relics do some funky things. I mean, we saw Dax's family and this expedition like all of a sudden come back from being lost for however long they were gone for. I mean, it's very possible that something similar happened with the Urgoth, that they left, they went underground, tried to rebuild. They've been under there for who knows how long they've actually been under there. You know, like I said, Shaper relics can do funky things. There's probably Shaper relics underground that the Urgoth were able to get a hold of. But also one of the interesting things is like the Urgoth aren't able to communicate like ciphers are. They don't have the power to tap into the Anthem of Creation. So, I mean, there's a lot of interesting story that we'll have to read up on and figure out exactly what's going on. But it seems like that's where the story is going. The story is now, hey, the Urgoth are back. Now it's time to investigate, figure out what's going on. And I'm sure towards the end of season 1, then we're really all that story is going to come to a head. So that's where I would like to see it go, because I think the Urgoth are interesting. It'll be fun to see a new enemy type. And then hopefully, you know, as the game ages, we're going to have more and more and more. And, you know, a lot of people that have fell off the game because they don't like the state that it's in now, they're going to have a great game to come back to whenever it's like, hey, guys, Anthem is back. Here it is. It's gone through a lot of iterations. And now, you know, it's got an amazing story that you can play through and enjoy with all your friends.
Yeah.
That's typical live service, right? You know, where people are like, oh, you know, Destiny 2 it's great. It's in a great place now after all these things. And you know, for me, it's like, okay, well, how much have you invested in it? Are you know, how much have they expanded? But is it going to take me forever to catch up? Well, these are all the kind of things that they'll need to address or, you know, go through. For those people that, you know, have played somewhat of Anthem and then are like, okay, it's not what I want yet, and then come back. But I do think, you know, in the Challenge of Legionnaires, they do explain a little bit more about, you know, what happened after she defended that. Let you know that.
Yeah. And then Dark Lake Dreamer says that they would like to see the fort expanded on with the story going forward. So
Definitely.
Yeah. The fort does begin to feel small after a little while, and it doesn't really quite have the same feel as some of the other hubs in other BioWare games. But I know we talked about it a little bit before the stream, but I am very interested to see if there is any more of Anthem that perhaps ties into the other BioWare franchises, because I was doing some reading this last week, and it like the planet that some of your crew crash lands on in Mass Effect 3 after the weird mass relay explosion and everything that happens at the end there that has not been expanded upon yet. It is a planet that has, you know, like two moons or something like that. One of them's really close, one of them's kind of far away. It's a jungle planet. A lot of the plants and the terrain looks like Bastion. Not to mention you have the whole thing of the owner of the Black Emporium from Dragon Age apparently being one of the previous owners of the bar who disappeared after a Shaper relic kind of went wild. So I'm like, considering what these relics are capable of, I'm really curious to see if they continue to maybe link their franchises together in a way. I know Ubisoft does a lot of that with their Division, Ghost Recon, like even Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed have a lot of overlap now. So I don't know if they're working on creating a connected multiverse or whatever, but I think it'd be pretty cool. The only thing we're going to end on here is were there any side characters or side stories that stood out to you guys, like that you could just that you remember, or maybe you met a character that you either really hated or really disliked? It sounds like Devon has one. Devon, why don't you start us off?
No, I think if you ask like if there's a character people disliked, what's his name? Nesson? Is that his name?
Neeson?
Or Neeson? Yeah.
Yeah, Neeson.
Who is always the fort gossip and a real nice guy.
Oh yeah,
he's like right out of The Office is where he's from. So,
but
he's right out of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
yeah, that's who voices him. But I really liked. So there was a lot of good ones, but the last one. This is the most recent one I finished. Whereas the last one that I finished was with Marl and which is
Gunther.
Gunther, yeah, it's Gunther.
Gunther.
And they just made me smile. So I enjoyed that little bit of back and forth between them and what was going on, and I think all the side stories had the same kind of wrap up to all the things that are going on. There's a beginning, middle, and end, and it's interesting to see where they're going to go. And I was hoping they were going to create some fashion for your freelancer, but no. I think
that happens tomorrow morning at 5:00. We'll see what we can dress our digital dolls in.
I would like to see all these side quests like actually result in things for you, like that designer guy. Going through this whole conversation, that would have been an easy way for them to be like, "Hey, you finished through this side conversation. Here's a decal. Here's an interesting decal, and here's all these. Finish this storyline." It's like it gives you incentive besides just getting rep, from the freelancers and other things from talking to them. It gives you a little. You completed this, side story, and gives you a little, I don't know, logo or whatever else. I mean, they have those. What do they call them? The DK? What is it?
So there's a graphic, and then there's a
graphics and the vinyls, decals.
Yeah.
But
the decals are big. The graphics are small.
Yeah, they could give us those graphics for, completing those side mission story type stuff, and
not since you got me on the topic, and this is something I remembered. I would like to see like if there is some sort of system that says you're kind of good or you're kind of a jerk. Yeah. At least so I know like where I stand with people, because you're making a lot of decisions that are very interesting, but then they just end and then there's nothing.
Yeah, the story's over until they.
Yeah, there are a lot of self-contained stories that you had some big decisions like, are you going to sell your shop, or are you going to put it in? Are you going to join up with this other person who's also down on their luck? What's the result of that? Like. You don't really get to see, yeah. Like, do you break up a marriage, or do you let a spy remain in the fort? I don't know.
No, you kill the spy. So Mike and I were talking about this, and we were talking about a lot of the decisions that we made, and we're like, yeah, I did this and this, and we're like, well, I did the same thing. Is it like predetermined? And we found out talking through it, it's like, no, we just picked a lot of the same stuff, and talking with other people on our Discord, it's like, no, this happened when I chose this. Mm-hmm. So there are all these different paths that you can take, but there's not like, I mean, it's almost like if you're playing a Telltale game or what used to be the studio, it's like you want to know like where you stand and what you've done, and have something that differentiates yourself from it. Like, hey, look, this is what I got when I was really nice to Prindle. Like, Prindle is like the custodian of the fort, and of course starts out very like, hey, we need to do this and this, and you're supposed to not like that person. But like funny. Coming from an industry where like safety is huge, like water puddles can be an issue, or cables laying across the floor can be an issue. And we saw it with Gunther and Marl, like they didn't know where to put their cables. They put their electrical cables right in the middle of a puddle, and it burnt their shop down. Like, I really, like, anytime he was like, hey, I want to put like markers on the street so people know where to walk. And I'm like, yeah, I would love to do that in real life too. I'm all on board for this. Let's mark out, walkways in the fort so people don't run into each other, like Mike was saying. So, but I would like something, because, that not a lot of people are going to choose that path, because I think a lot of people will just be like, oh, this guy's kind of a tool bag.
No, I chose the same thing.
Like, I agree with him. Like, I want a decal that either has like a broom or like safety tape or something that's showing that you're roping off these areas where you walk, because otherwise no one knows. And maybe that's the point. Maybe they don't care if you guys know what I chose in the fort. Maybe that story isn't for you, it's for me, and I should be happy with the story.
The fort is personal, right? They're saying it's personal. I mean, But it's fun, though, to be able to share those personal experiences with other people. And if you can go out into the wild and be like, hey, I got that same thing from making the same decisions as you, or I went down that same path. It's just another way that you can bond together with other people over something simple. And I did like the custodian. You know, I was like, hey, this is like my job I have right now, where I have to do all this safety stuff. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah,
that is funny.
Yeah. Mike, did you have any side characters or side stories?
Nope.
No.
He's like, I'm ready for bed.
It's late, guys. We have lost all of our listener. He turned off like a long time ago. So we got
It's a long one today.
It's a long one today. We gotta wrap this up.
Well, before we end, I just want to say that if you guys haven't played the Merelda
what
story,
did I just say?
It's really good. Man, look, I kept it brief, man. I kept it brief. Right?
Well, freelancers, this has been episode 76 of the longest running Anthem podcast on the internet. It was a very long episode. Thanks for
And this has been the longest episode of the longest run.
But there's still so much to talk about. So.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for you, Mike, who's kind of a lightweight, I could keep talking about this game for hours. But because you have to go to bed, we'll end it here. But freelancers, for hanging out with us.
You and your legendaries.
We're going to be with the game for the long run. I'm excited for the future of Anthem. I'm excited for, the devs are listening to us and they're making changes and they're going to do it at the pace that they can do it at. You gotta learn how to run before you can walk. I think that's how that saying goes. So until next time, freelancers, there's a Shaper Storm on the horizon, and we'll see you on the other side.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter at Freelancer Codex, on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or through email at freelancercodex@gmail.com. Join the Discord through the link provided at freelancercodex.com. Our show will always be free, but if you'd like to send some support, you may do so at patreon.com/freelancercodex. Our individual Twitter handles are at Steven Lamson, at mlamson25, at Neverfear, and at JD the Joke Dealer. Freelancers, it's time to get to work.